Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and I'd like to extend a sincere thanks for listening to me this afternoon, and really think about something that you probably wonder, what's this guy doing here, standing in front of you, and going to talk about a little bit about chewing gum with a somewhat hyperbolic title, The Ticking Time Bomb, and I feel like I should have been introduced by the sound of ticking before I came on. But what I really want to talk about today is a little bit about the context of preventive dentistry and how we can think about another tool in the armamentarium of preventive dentistry, thinking about changes in behaviors, thinking about alterations in snacking, eating patterns, changes in caries, and how we can start to implement the idea of sugar-free gum as a component of a preventive program for dentists. So, as you can see, I'm based originally from the UK. I don't know if I still maintain my accent, but certainly very glad to be back in London. And we're located in Chicago, so here's the city skyline. And my building that you can see right here, this is in line with this conference. It's called the Global Innovation Center, so that's where we do all of our R&D throughout the world. And does anybody know who this person is? I don't know if you can see from the back. About 3 times a week, I go for a run from my office here in this building to Lake Michigan, and it's a couple of miles, and every day I go by the statue of this gentleman. And if you can read it, this is Green Vardaman Black, so the famous G.V. Black, and this statue was erected, I think, by the American Dental Association. He was a dean of the school in Chicago. And he really, I would say, defined the principles of dentistry for the 20th century. So we still talk about, I think we all talk about class 1 and class 2 cavities. These are things that Black really developed. But that was the 20th century, and of course, I'm not even sure that now, and I've been out of dental school for more years than I care to remember, if we're still teaching the same principles of cavity design that he devised, but certainly when I was at dental school, that was what we learned. So, as I ran by this gentleman a couple of weeks ago, I took this photo and thought, this provides a talking point to think about change in dentistry and change in preventive dentistry. I taught preventive dentistry for about 13 years, so I came to the company as a card-carrying cariologist and preventive dentist. So I have a passion for this, and as I started to learn more about the company and the product, for years before I even worked for the Wrigley company, I was talking about chewing sugar-free gum as being something you could really benefit from. So today's lecture, talk, discussion, however you want to talk about it, I'll provide an overview here. I'll cover a few topics. I've got about a little bit over an hour. I've covered things about the change in caries patterns, what's going on. For probably all the years I taught preventive dentistry, we used to talk about declines in dental caries prevalence, and this was a given. Basically, caries was going away. 30 years or 40 years of fluoride, fluoridated toothpaste, and other preventive measures were reducing it, but we're beginning to see a little bit of a change in that. I'd like to talk a little bit about that. In combination, and this is something that really is perhaps of relevance to thinking about that change and really how we can impact it. People may be changing the way they eat, drink, and consume meals, moving from more of a grazing pattern. People go, these days everybody's on the go, and people don't sit down in the same way as they did 25, 30 or more years ago, 3 square meals at the family dinner table. So thinking about what they're eating and how they're eating it, well, how do we determine the impact of the foods on their teeth? And we talk about short-term impact, but I also like to think about the longer term. And I'm going to get into a little bit about thinking what the effect of frequent snacking might be having on the oral ecology. So bring in a little bit of thinking about the oral ecology paradigm as something that's really changed in the last, I would say, 10 years or so, the thinking about the plaque biofilm and how we approach it. Moving on to that, I want to talk a little bit about oral health in general. What is oral health? Can we define it? I'm not sure we can. I think in general terms, we think of oral health as being the absence of a disease. So if we think about oral health, we get into the idea of oral homeostasis. So, and that's something I'll introduce later on.